Hi, Prajakta.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. And thank you to
doing
you
good.
giving us this opportunity. Really, really thankful to you.
I hope it's our
Grateful to have this opportunity.
uh, no, thank you for accepting and being open about discussing these cases actually. And also, I just started using it for 3 months, and I was like, we have to have something like that. Your isolated demos are not, possibly the reach is not that much. So once you do it with a case, because there are so many steps of initiating the app, actually the child using it, then success and stuff like that. If it's done through case discussions, it's going to be so much more useful to many more people, actually.
True, very true. And I'm so thankful to Prajakta to, come
Yes.
forward with her cases. She's one of the therapists who's using it since quite some time. And I'm super excited for this discussion today. Really looking
I,
forward to it.
Actually, I'm thankful to Tasneem because she took this initiative because preparing app and gathering so much of activities together, it's a huge task and do it in such a systematic way.
Correct.
I have been starting it for I started using it from the starting
Hmm.
and been using it, and then there were updates and new things coming up,
Uh,
and we actually wait for it. So, yeah, something really
That's
exciting for
motivating. All
us.
this positive feedback keeps us going in, it encourages us and motivates us to like keep creating new content so that, we can reach out to a bigger population, and that's the end goal for us. So, yes.
yes, I would
That
definitely.
definitely has to happen.
No, it was definitely, the the systematicity with which you have done it, the organization with which that, we can cater to so many different patients that when I started using and
Exactly.
so, and when you talk about activities, there are so many times we do fumble a bit, like especially if the patient, if the kid or the adult is being challenging, we are fumbling, and you have everything. It is like what is the name of the superhero from Avengers? The one who doesn't have superpowers, the one with bows and arrows. Iron Man calls him Legolas. So I've forgotten. I'll get to it. So it is like you always have in your armamentarium. You know it is there. So it
Yeah.
is quite wonderful. So I'll just start off with the introductions. Then we have quite a good strength of audience now. So no, okay. Prajakta, please tell me, will you be sharing your screen for the presentation or do you want me to? You will share?
Yes, yes. I'll share.
And you're still at your clinic. It's so nice to see those rock climbing things behind you. That's nice.
That's OT area actually. So
Okay, no?
today there is nobody, so I took the opportunity to sit there.
Sit there. Okay, so I will just start. 1 second. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to the case discussion series by Insightful Pediatric SLPs. And today is the 10th one, so mini milestone for us, and we are doing something very big in the 10th discussion that we have here today. Our first, I'll get on with the introduction so that we can start with the case discussion. Her cases are very interesting. So the speaker for today is going to be Prajakta Govale. She has a combined experience of 14 years. She has done both her bachelor's and master's in audiology and speech language pathology from EYJ NISHD Mumbai. She has been working as a senior SLP at Gate Counseling Center, Goregaon. It has a multidisciplinary team of speech therapists, occupational therapists, special educators, counselors, art-based therapists, and expressive art therapists. So she's been working with pediatric language disorders. We also have with us the founder of SetSpeech, Tasneem Manasawala. She has completed her post-graduation in 2009 from TNMC and Nair Hospital. She has worked at renowned hospitals like Saifi and Prince Ali Khan in Mumbai. She has been practicing at Spectrum Speech and Hearing Clinic as a senior audiologist and speech therapist since 2011. Her interests basically lie in treating children with stuttering and adults with neurocommunication disorders. In 2017, after being inspired by a speech session at IshaCon Mumbai that spoke about how speech and language apps are the need of the hour, she set out on a path to create a speech therapy app for the Indian SLP and the Indian patients. That's how SetSpeech was born. Today, SetSpeech is being used by several speech language pathologists all over India to teach children and various speech language and communication disorders. So, a very warm welcome to the both of you. After the case, we are looking forward to a lot of discussion. So, please, Prajakta, please start with sharing your screen.
Sure, sure. Is it visible?
Yes, yes, it is. You just have to go to the slide show mode. Yes,
Yeah. And my voice is also audible, right?
completely, completely. Yes.
So today I'll be talking about the set speech I used in various pediatric population or cases, and I would like to give a brief idea about how I started. Basically, it started in online sessions, and that was a time when we used to be searching for different activities or different things to be done with the kids, and I used to search a lot of activities on Pinterest or on Google, and then eventually I came across set speech, and that was something which I started using with the children for online sessions, and that was something kept the children glued to the sessions, and that's how I started using it. And then when we came back for our physical sessions, started attending with the children, and then I started using it with them also, and that's how I started liking it, and then I was using it more and more with the children, because this can be used with right from very young kids to the adults. So that's how I started using it, and I totally love this app. So I'll start with case number one, which is the kid is still with me, and he started when in July 2022, and he earlier was attending OT sessions. He was referred to me by the occupational therapist, and that for occupational therapy, that time he was attending thrice in a week. Now it has reduced down. When occupational therapist referred me the child, her concern was he was really getting aggressive, and he had a lot of difficulty managing himself with the behaviors. The mother was really concerned because he was not his speech was quite unclear, and he used to be not having that much of expressive ways of communication, and the child used to have a lot of meltdowns. So the
One second.
operational therapist told me that
Prajakta, sorry to interrupt
yeah.
you. You're not on the slideshow mode and
Yeah.
the slides are not changing.
Okay.
Can you please see, or I can share it from my end then?
Okay.
Yeah, the slide changed, but we are still not in the slideshow mode.
Okay.
Near
Is it seen now?
Yes, I can see you are
Is it?
clicking on the slideshow, but it is not happening. We are on the slide. You have changed the slide. We are on the slide with the information, but it is not going to the slideshow mode.
Okay.
Can you stop sharing? Let me quickly share it from my end and see. I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the presentation open. Let me
Sure.
just see if it works from my end. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's see. Just tell me if it has gone to the slideshow mode, or is it a problem here also?
No, it is still. Yeah. Now it
Okay.
is on the slideshow.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So, then I started with his assessment, and Here, I'll share the brief case history. He's a second child, and the mother's pregnancy was a bit complicated, so she was on the bed rest for last trimester. However, the delivery was full term normal delivery. He cried immediately after the birth. The birth weight was 4 kgs, so no difficulties in the postnatal period. His motor milestones were age appropriate. However, speech milestones were delayed. He started using his meaningful words around 3.5 years, and he started using sentences around 4 years. So, if you would see, he was a child who was born around the COVID pandemic. So, when he was around 1.5 year, when the majority of the children they start socializing with others, that was a time when he did not get the socialization majorly, and then there was a delay in the communication. So once he started attending the school, again he started gaining words, and the communication started getting better. Because of that, let me change this again.
Yeah.
So before, he came to me at the end of July 2022, and before that, just before that, like 2-3 days before that, he had the parents consulted the developmental pediatrician with the concern of behavioral difficulties, that is aggression and speech delays. And the impression given by the developmental pediatrician was qualitative deficits in social communication and reciprocity. And according to DSM-4, he was on the risk of autism. And she had prescribed medicines also, which they started giving him. Risnia 2.5 was given to him half at at night for 3 months. But then after 3 months, also they consulted the doctor because they felt the need due to the aggression and meltdowns. So they continued it for 4 months more. And so this was happening, like the medicines were on, occupational therapy was happening. Though, according to the doctor's consultation and the impression, it is the emerging autism, or the risk of autism. However, the occupational therapist opinion was he evidently showed hyperactivity and impulsivity, and autism was according to her, there were not much traits of autism. Next slide, please. That was with the. So when he started speech therapy, when the assessment was done, he showed difficulty in instruction following, direction following. He could follow simple instructions in English and Gujarati. Then he had difficulty in sitting tolerance, like he wouldn't sit in one place, always on the move, and he wouldn't want to do the table chair task basically. And attention given to the activity, whatever activity was given, he would want to shuffle through the activities, and that was very lesser time span he would spend for any given activity. Then activity compliance was a major hurdle. Then auditory attention, he had difficulty with comprehension of yes no questions, WH questions. Next slide. Then he had difficulty in understanding and expressing his own emotions, feelings, even others' emotions, others' feelings, and he couldn't talk about what did he do in school, or what did he eat in the tiffin, or what did he do at home. Even small things, sharing about the small things that he couldn't do at that time. So narration of own experiences was also that was something he couldn't do. He couldn't listen to the conversations for longer duration. He would wouldn't stop for that. It's I don't want to listen to it. He would just avoid or escape. And obviously had a difficulty in social communication and playing with his peers. So there was no connect with the peers basically. Next slide. Also, he had unclear speech. So, most of the sounds I would say, r, l, k, g, s, sh, they were all affected, and brains were also affected. Speech was unintelligible. So it was on scale 4. So we couldn't understand him very easily. Even the mother had difficulty in understanding him at times. She really had to focus while he used to speak, and then that was something would trigger him. Then he had fast rate of speech. He had incoordination in tongue movements like elevation, lateralization, licking of lips, puffing, holding cough, shuffling cough, and he was a fussy eater. General observation about him was he predominantly used English language for communication. He understood Gujarati and Hindi, but he used to have that because he used to watch videos and all, so accented English was there. So that was also sometimes would be difficult to understand by others. Then he was a sharp child. He would learn quickly, and he would also get bored very easily. His frustration levels were when he would get bored, he would doesn't want to do activities, or is not understood by other people because his speech was not clear. His frustration was really high because he had to repeat at times 3-4 times, and sometimes despite repeating 3-4 times, though he had repeated it, still people would not understand, and that would really upset him. And that is getting bored or not being understood by other people, or that was something he would start having the meltdowns, like screaming, crying, hitting, kicking. And that was really difficult for mother to handle him at times. She couldn't manage him because his energy was too high for that. Even in OT sessions, the OTist was facing difficulties because of his temper tantrums. He used to show the temper tantrums in speech sessions also. So that next slide. So when he started speech therapy with me, mother had said she wanted OT and speech one after other. So that was something he had to attend two sessions at a time. So OT is done, then he would come for speech therapy, and that was something the transition from one session to another session, and especially from occupational therapy to speech therapy, he was not ready to accept it. He didn't want to come out of that OT session. He always wanted to be in OT session. He didn't want to come for speech session. He used to be नहीं जाना है मुझे speech session के लिए, मुझे नहीं करना है speech therapy. That was something he would always say in the starting. When gradually we started occupational therapists and my mother and I, we started explaining हम लोग एक्टिविटी करेंगे, आप जैसे चाहो वैसे करेंगे, you select the activity. We started taking the child's lead. He did not like the activities selected by me, or he would just refuse or avoid activities. So he would choose the activities preferable to him, and his main preference was either OT activities or various puzzles. Those were done in OT session. So that was something he was finding it very comfortable. Then if I would say let's get to some other activity, let's do some other activity. No, if it is given for some time limit, let's do it for 10 minutes, or let's do it for another 5 minutes, he would get into arguments. No, I don't want to do it, I just want to continue with this activity, and he might have meltdowns. So impulsivity and non-compliance were the major hurdles. We showed meltdowns. Whenever there was something, a small trigger would lead to meltdowns. He would just refuse to do activities, lying on the floor, and crying, screaming. That was something which was faced by me. It was at home, in the school, as well as therapy sessions. Initially I started with the puzzles that were of his choice, the flashcards. I would just ask him, okay, इसमें से आपको क्या choose करना है, आप ले लो, हम लोग वो लेके आ जाते. He would select, and then eventually धीरे करके we started sitting with me, or we could have movement based activities. So that was something helped in rapport building and sitting tolerance gradually, compliance, attention. Then we started with picture talk, sequencing, guess the dialogues. Since he was a visual learner and he was a quick learner, he 2-3 repetitions would be sufficient for him. So he used to learn very quickly. However, when we used to sustain on any card, he would be he didn't like that going into details. Just shuffle the cards. Let's move on to the next card. I don't want to get into too many questions, too much of information. So he would just switch the cards very easily. He would get bored very easily and want to keep up with that. If he would come for the next session, he would say nahi wo wala card mujhe nahi karna hai, wo wala activity mujhe nahi karna hai. So he used to have that anticipation that probably I would do that activity in this session, and then he would start from there that I wouldn't do this activity. So also he had low interest towards solely activities which require activities that require listening skills. So there was refusal, ignoring. That was the thing which he would do often. Next slide. Then I along with the cards, I started using SetSpeech also, and that was on tab. So that was something which really changed the thing. He started showing the interest. He had interest in tab basically, and then I introduced a SetSpeech for him, and that was something he really started enthusiasm towards the activities. So we started with oromotor exercises and tell me the function, sorting, naming activities, picture description, sequencing. Devasmita, can you go with the pictures? The next slide. So these are the pictures that are there in the SetSpeech, and that was something I used to show him. So this is what we have to do, and that was something he took interest in it, and he started doing it. Dekh ke karna hai, okay, I'll do it. And then I was modeling him also at the same time, and that he really liked it. He would do it at home by himself. He showed that much of interest that I'll do it at home by myself. Mother also didn't guide him much for that. He started doing it in the mirror by himself. So this was something for elevation, protrusion. Next slide. So this was for the oromotor exercises that really helped. Then we went to the other activities. Okay, so tell me the function. So this was something name. It was for basically I started with naming. Though he had good vocabulary, but still we this this has got many sets. So there are various objects, and we started with naming it. Chalo, explain me the function. What do you do with this? How do you use it? And then we eventually started with guess the object. So I would describe the object in a simpler way. He would guess it. Then he started showing 3-4 times we did it, and then he said, okay, I will describe object to you and you identify the object. And that is how we started taking turns into it, and he really enjoyed that activity. And this we used to do it quite often. That was next time. Then sorting category ke liye, this was something he was really interested in it. It was just dragging the pictures according to the categories. So I used to ask him, okay, what do you see? Do you see you tell me what categories do you see, and then we will segregate them. And he used to have an immense interest into it because he could drag the pictures by himself. So that control was given to him. Next slide. Then again, naming from the category. So this was something like, free recall. So you select the category that you want to say. So he would look at, he is the one who could read also, like, though he was like, quite young, but he was good at reading. So like, whatever words he could read, he used to select, and then he used to ask me, okay, what is written here, you read it completely. So if I would read it completely, if it is acceptable by him, he used to start like, labeling what comes into, for example, like when things used by the tuner. So he would start like, listing them down. Then this was again like, something like, we used to do. It has another version in the app also, like, where we actually start with describing each picture one by one, and then you move on to this one where you know the sequence, and then you drag it to the respective position. So that was something like, he used to like dragging the pictures according to the position, and then like, describing them. And that helped him in like, using the sentences also. And like, we used to like, do it from the memory also. Okay, what did you see in that sequence, can you tell me? Now there is no picture, so you have to like, tell me by yourself. So that was also something we did it. Next, picture description. This something helped me in like, WH questions, polar questions. He had like, difficulty in polar questions. So this was something like, these activities where like, where we could practice this a lot. And again, the sentence building and like, lengthening the sentences. So that was something very helpful. Next. Then answering the question. So here, like, he used to actually, I used to tell him, okay, which question you want me to read or you want to read. So, like, he used to select, okay, you read number 4 or number 5. And then, like, this was done both ways, like, taking turns. I read it, you tell me the answer, then you read it, or like, listening, reading. That is how we did it in both ways. And then we used to elaborate also, okay, like, if it is about colors, so like, what, like, if red color is your favorite, so what all things you have at home, red color, or in the surrounding, what do you see? What red color things do you see? Any other color that you like? So that is how we used to elaborate. Yes, then, like, so that basic like, sitting tolerance, activity compliance, and like, the question comprehension, that all developed. And then we like, started with more complexity. So there where like, I wanted to focus more on detailing, narration, and like, descriptions, and like, logical thinking, problem solving, and like, reasoning. Next slide. So this was something like, what's wrong, where this is his one of the favorite activities. He really loves it. When I started using this with him, it took him few like, sessions to understand it. But once he understood it, he was like, really fan of it. And he used to come and first tell me that this is the activity, I want to do it. Like, almost every session he would come and tell me that this is the activity, I want to do it. And he has got exceptional like, observational skills, and critical thinking also developed very nicely with this. So that was something like, we did on the individual pictures as well as in the scenes. Can you go to the next picture? So this is something like, what's wrong scenes. And this was like, we used to spend 10 to 15 minutes on this one picture, because like, we used to actually observe one by one. Okay, this is wrong, this can't be here, this is wrong, this can't be here. So he used to actually explain it, like try to explain it very nicely. Obviously, I helped him whenever he's stuck, but then this is something he really enjoyed. Next. Odd one out was also one of his favorite activities because it was related to categorization. So that he really liked. He used to like, say, okay, these are things which are related to this category, these are not. So he could reason out very well. Next. Then eventually we came to this like description of this scenes. So where we started with WH questions and polar questions into it, and more detailing. The questions are given there, like there are 3 or 4 questions about each picture, but then we used to I used to ask more questions related to the same picture, or he also used to ask me questions. So his inquisitiveness also increased with this. So that was a good part about it. Next. Then naming or description or kind of riddle solving. So this was here the one liners are given, the animal that gives a smell or person that flies aeroplanes. So at times I would give him 2-3 clues about it, and something about the color or the shape or something like that, and then he had to really think about it and come to the conclusion. So that was he learned with this activity. Next, story comprehension. Now this is something where he was not much keen on the story comprehension. So he used to say, no stories, I don't want to do the stories, because that was something he had to sustain attention and listen to it for some time. So what I started doing is, okay, let's read the stories. We will read, or we will just describe the picture, what do you see in the picture. And he liked reading, so he would read the lines given below the stories. So that was something he wanted to do. But then eventually we mixed things, okay, picture describe karenge, thoda sa read karenge, thoda understand karne ki koshish karenge, and that is how we started spending more time on stories. And from here I could take him to the next level of story comprehension also. So this was something which I started as a baseline, and then I shifted for the higher level. Correct the sentences. Other activity is funny. Sentences, and then wrong. I didn't had to well where he could actually understand what is wrong in the sentences, because we had done what's wrong quite a lot, and sorry, there was some disturbance. I hope.
Could you explain this whole slide from the beginning again? Sorry, I think you had a network issue. Could you just go through this slide again, please?
Okay. So, correct the sentences. Here, this was something we had done what's wrong earlier. We had done, apart from this, I used to do flashcards also. So, which were why questions and reasoning, and also we had worked quite a lot with that. And when we came to this level, he had that understanding. Okay, this question, this sentence is funny. If he would read or I would read, and he understood that this question or this sentence is not correct, so he would start laughing if it is is understood by him, and he used to correct it by himself. So that reasoning was something had developed quite a lot when till we came to this activity. So he could identify what was wrong in the sentence. Next slide. Then problem solving is something we used to do it you read it, we could role play at times, and I could explain him in a very simpler way, and then he could come to conclusion with that. Okay, I might do this, that might be correct or might not be correct, but then he started giving answers for that, and we selected very simple ones initially, though there are 7 or 8 on one page, but then something which I selected, okay, this he might understand, and then we started with that. So that's something he has learned quite well. That's right. So, with all these activities, with SetSpeech activities and other activities also, we have, we came to a point where he had good activity compliance, good sitting tolerance, overall attention was improved. means length of utterances was better, and reasoning, logical thinking, everything was like in short improvement. Narration skills got better, which earlier he couldn't do. He started coming and sharing few things about his school and his like what did he or something that he would like to do in the class, some favorite activities. So that had improved. Conversational tone taking and all that became better. Aggression had reduced down. Meltdowns almost were not there. And the medicines mother took the advice from the doctor, and they stopped the medicines, and he would listen when things were explained to him priorly or in a simpler manner, so that listening to others had developed. His social interaction became better. He eventually earlier he was in a small school. When when he started the sessions with me, that time itself he had started going for the school, which was very small school. Like along with him there were only two kids, those were girls. And that time he couldn't have that connect with them, but then eventually those girls also accepted him, and he became better friends with them. And from there in his building also he got one or two friends. And from there now there was a time when he had to go to the bigger school. So the parents were really worried at we had suggested them like before that also if you can admit him in a bigger school, but they were worried that he might have meltdowns or he might not be manageable by the school. So they did not accept that. But then he eventually this year in April his academic year started, and he went to bigger school. And mother was really worried whether teachers will have some complaints about him, or he may not be able to cope well in the school. But no, he could adjust himself very well, not much of difficulty, and he happily attends the school. It's uh, then the language part developed, but then uh, point was the misarticulations he had, and that was we were working, definitely we were working, but then that was happening simultaneously. So tongue bends and other exercises were happening, but we actually started focusing on articulations with the help of SetSpeech also, because there is a dedicated section for articulation, and which has phoneme practice, word list, pictures, illustrations, sentences, you just name it and you have it. And earlier I used to use Home Speech Home. That was something a go-to website for me. But then SetSpeech gave me that platform where I can use a lot of things at the same time from one app only. So we practiced tongue twisters also. That was something he enjoyed really well. Then can you go to the next slide, Smita? So this was something there are images in the set speech. So whichever target sound you have, just have to go initial, middle, final positions, and just used to click on. He used to click on the pictures. He used to say, and we used to correct. And there is the option of recording also in this. So that was also something he was motivated to do, because only word list was something he didn't like it much. He used to say, no, I don't want to do it. But these pictures were a savior for me. Then eventually, next slide, we we started using the phrases, sentences, all the three positions, and then we tried with sentences. He started reading, and that was something was we are still doing it, because that practice is still going on. Then these are the tongue twisters. There are abundant tongue twisters. I selected a few out of it which he could do, because he has in coordination where he gets frustrated with that, and then he just says it very fast, so that doesn't help. So I selected the ones which were small and he could enjoy, like red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, or there was another black bear, brown bear. So thin sticks, thick bricks. That was something he used to enjoy. So I selected few of them and then I started using with him. Next. And when we were practicing for articulation, language, and everything, few months back, like 4 5 months back, he started showing stuttering, bouts of stuttering, and that was something mother also addressed me that at home he has though she's not much worried about it, but we started working on it. He really has fast rate of speech, there's a lot of coordination also. So breathing is also it was something which was clavicular. So we started with these illustrations for breathing. This is something though illustrations are there, but he is not much fan of breathing exercises. We are still working on it, and that's something might take a little more time for me to establish.
I just wanted to give you a heads up on time because you have a second
Yeah.
case also.
Yes. Next slide. So along with all these things, we use I use these pictures again, this what's wrong, or this next slide. Inferencing. So this is for reading in a controlled rate of speech, and at the same time we we do fluency and articulation corrections also. So something that has helped me in providing me material for reading. Next. Now this is something which she really like. This I use as reinforcement, or to keep up the motivation high, where your target is given on one side, the child just has to search and click, and that is how it's a kind of a game for him. So that improved his attention, his critical thinking. So that was something I use it for many kids, not only for him. That's something as a reinforcement I use with them. Then next is the patterns. This is also something he really likes. So I tell him that if you finish this much, I'll give you this activity, and that is something he does his activity very fast. Next slide. So that is how in his case, overall set speech has helped me a lot. That was something really a big support for me, and that kept his motivation high. He now doesn't say no for coming to session, obviously, 2 years down the line, but he definitely looked forward towards coming to the sessions, and he enjoyed it. Like other day the mother was telling him session was supposed to get over by 7:45. He had told mother at home, you don't come early, you come at 8:30. I want to sit in the speech session for longer period. So that is how set speech has helped a lot. So
Isn't that so
now
endearing to hear it from a child that they want to stay for a longer period with us?
Yeah. So coming to the next case. So this kid is 7 years kid, and he again came from the recommendation from the OTist and the developmental pediatrician. He started the OT at age of 3.5 years, which is earlier also it was twice a week, and now also it is twice a week. Started speech therapy a little later, around 5 years of age, in November 2022, which is twice in a week, and he's really regular in attending the sessions. So that's really good thing about him, and that has brought up a good progress in him. So he's a first child, and that was a non-consanguineous marriage, uneventful antenatal postnatal period. full-term C-section delivery, and he died immediately after the birth. Birth weight was 3.2 kgs. Motor milestones were age appropriate. Speech milestones were delayed, and he started using first word after 2 years. Communication was mainly through, he would use one or two words, but then communication was mainly through pointing and whatever, only need based. He used to, later on he used to sing songs also, nursery songs also, but still, there was no meaningful communication. That was mother's concern. Then he started using two word phrases after around 3.5 years. Developmental pediatrician had done the evaluation around September 2022. According to the reports, the impression was, qualitative deficits in, again, social communication and social reciprocity, and borderline score on AST on cars. He was again given Riston for his inattention and, his restlessness and, moving about. So, but parents did not, they gave him the medicine for 3 months, but they discontinued it after some point of time, and they resorted on, following diet. So that something was done by them that had shown results, GFCF diet, and, that had shown results, but now they are not following much of a diet now. He's off diet now. So when I started speech therapy with him, he had difficulty in instruction following. He could follow very basic one-step for commands in Marathi and English. He needed repetitions for that also, and also for, two-step instructions. When I used to do special instructions with him, that was something, he used to get lost. Matlab, I have to show him the things by, standing by his side and, actually taking him to the objects. Okay, this is what I want, and, you have to give me this. So that is how, he had that much of difficulty. He couldn't, even figure ground perception and, other visual perception difficulties also he had with that, over the period of time. Those were, got better. Then he had difficulty in sitting tolerance, visual and auditory attention, activity compliance, where, he had difficulty. He had limited receptive and expressive vocabulary, and obviously difficulty in, various WH questions, yes no questions, and communication was, by the time he came to me was, only need best 2 or 3 word phrases, or simply by pointing or taking the person to the desired object. Next slide. He had difficulty in expressing own emotions, feeling, even understanding others' emotions, feelings. He had difficulty in answering questions based on activities of daily life. He either wouldn't understand, so he used to give irrelevant answers to that, or he would simply close his ears and would ignore it. Logical thinking, reasoning, again, following up with ongoing conversation, narration, social communication, interaction, all the interactive play, all these areas where, he had difficulty with. Next slide. General observation, he could comprehend two languages, Marathi and English to some extent. He was a visual learner. Repetitions were required. He was a curious child. If you leave him about, he would just go around and he would, start looking for things of his, interest. He was quite exploratory, and he, loved to explore. Then he used to get easily distracted. Attention was, a major hurdle. Visual or auditory stimuli, anything is in the environment, he used to get distracted. And he had, a lot of fidgeting, finger tapping, self-talk, then blocking ears with fingers, laughing spells. If activity is happening, he would, be in his own world with fingers in his ears. And the moment, something complex would come, or something which requires, auditory attention, he used to space out. when others did not understand what he's saying because his speech, like the grammatically it was not that accurate. So he would start mumbling or muttering, or there was repetitive speech. There was immediate and delayed echolalia. Excessive laughing was there. So this all things were there, and at times now also I see them, but the frequency is lesser. So we started with for him I flashcards, puzzles, picture books, as well as set speech. Like I started it along with other modalities also. So that I started with following instructions and actions. There was what next slide. So this was something we started as joint attention activity, how let's cook the food, let's do dance. So I do it, you also do it, and that was something movement based activity. So he at times he used to have he wouldn't do that, but then with encouragement and all he started doing it. So action imitation, joint attention, that became better with that. Next. um which we always slide है. Hmm. अच्छा. That instructions. अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा.
Check this one second.
Then we went for two-step instruction gradually. I used to, if he has not understood one step, and then two steps. So I used to do, and then he used to follow, and that is how we did it step by step. So that helped in improving auditory attention, memory, his comprehension, everything. Next. Then we were doing naming the pictures. This is something though he had vocabulary, but I wanted to improve that also. So I chose a section of random pictures. It has got two sections. One is naming pictures categorically, and one is random. So this has something which are there sometimes in your environment, or sometimes you have not seen it. So you get good variety of pictures in it. So that is how I started with it. And he he had basic vocabulary which was quite good, but then I wanted to go for the advanced vocabulary. And I started with what were questions also at the same time, what is this, or what do you use for storing food, or something, that what do you eat, or where do you find this. So that is something I started using with this particular task. And at the same time, yes no questions. Is this instead of teddy bear, is this a doll, or is this an aeroplane instead of a tractor? So I used to ask him those questions, and that is something yes and no questions, where I could improve the comprehension on that. Yes. Tell me the function is again something similar to the previous one. Here we practice naming place where you find these objects, or what is the function of it, and then can you guess the object. So that is something, and can you see this object in the surrounding right now. So that is how we practice this. Then picture description was something we did with the questions again, and a lot of observation. So here he used to get spaced out at times, he longer I used to stretch, and then he wouldn't be able to sustain for long period of time. And it also helped in developing vocabulary for him. Next. This is something it was after few trials, he started liking this much better, because this is five, three pictures or five pictures, and that was very suitable for him. Just limited pictures there, and he used to like it. So there are questions below it, and I used to read questions to him, and he was more responsive to this. So this was something he could do much better. Then this is matching objects or things that go together. So this was I had to teach him few times, and then eventually he understood, okay, this is how we make sauce out of tomatoes, or we put braise in the toaster and we make toast. So that is how the semantic association was established for him, and his logical thinking was focused here. Now we again, this is things that go together but in the scenes. So by then when we started, he had some idea where things go. So he could identify, okay, in the kitchen he has to say which place is this, and then he has to say, okay, out of this what will belong to kitchen. And that again he liked it because he could drag the pictures towards the designated place. So that is something a fun thing for him. So he paid attention for this also quite well. So gradually with all these activities and along with flashcards and all other things, he started showing improvement in his certain tolerance, compliance, attention, vocabulary, obviously instruction following and WH questions. So that was getting better, and थोड़ा थोड़ा expression भी better हो रहा था उसका. And along with this, his emotions and feelings, they were targeted with some other flashcards, but that also was getting better. Next. Eventually then I started going towards more complex things where he had to focus on the bigger pictures, not only objects, but the scenes and picture description kind of a thing. Because what is it? Pictures are there.
No, this doesn't seem to have it. See,
Okay.
this.
Maybe you can stop the PPT and I can start it here.
Yes, yes, sure, sure, sure. Yes, yes, no problem. Even if it does not go in the slideshow mode, you have shown quite a few pictures, so we'll get an idea what you are intending basically.
Yes. Uh, I'll explain it verbally. I think, sorry, I realize it.
No
Like,
problem, no
I
problem.
did not put the pictures because, it was similar to previous one. Okay, I'll explain it. Should I share it from my side, or you will share it?
I, I can share it. I can share it. 1 second.
Hmm.
It should be there only where we left off. 1 second. Yeah.
Can you go to 56 number slide? Yeah. So, 56 previous one.
Okay.
हाँ. अच्छा नहीं अच्छा. No, no.
After this or before this?
After this.
After
Next.
this. Next. Okay,
Hmm.
wait. Next. This. After
No.
this?
Yes.
Okay, okay, sorry. Yeah.
So we started with sequencing of what will happen next, and description of scenes or guess the object. Then again I was I introduced him the stories. Then we started with what's wrong, correct the sentences, problem solving. So which you have already seen the pictures of those previously. And like, problem solving, or what will you do, or answer the questions. So, like, this were the things I, like, targeted. And like, he started showing progress in the activities that I mentioned. He is, like, getting more like expressive now, and he tries to initiate the conversation now. Like earlier, he never used to be, like, go and talk to anyone by himself. But now, if there is a familiar person, he definitely goes to that person, tries to, like, start some or other, like, conversation with the person. So, like, for example, other day, like, when I came to the clinic, so where there is a waiting area, he was waiting there. So he saw me and he immediately was like, to his caregiver, give me the bag, I want to go for a session. So he said it in Marathi. And then he came to me, Sala Prajakta Miss, let's go. And then he took me to the door, and then he was like, open the door, because he know that the door is locked, the cabin is locked. So I said, but I don't have the keys. So what will you do? So he said, he waited for some time. Then he knows the keys are with somebody else. So he said, Damayanti ma'am has the keys. So and she happened to be there on the door, some, like, just in the vicinity. So he said, Damayanti ma'am, give me the keys. I want to open the door. So that is something, like, which he couldn't do earlier. And even, like, that was a good surprise for me, because, like, sometimes it happens, like, though he knows the things, he resorts to like, express in 2 3 words, or, like, at times one word only. But when it is, like, something of his interest, he will definitely, like, use longer sentences, and he can go on for, like, 2 3 turns or more turns. So that is something which is, like, is very better. And even mother had shared another experience where, like, at home, his, like, the maid in the house was, like, helping with some, like, grating coconut and putting it in the a box. So, like, he went to his mother and he said, like, Maushila help karto, I will help the auntie. And he, like, he said, give me the dabba, I want to put it inside. So, like, mother had shared the video of it. So that is something, like, mother said that wouldn't, like, that was not there, he wouldn't do that earlier. Even, like, one day he had, like, told father that, like, can I take my like, legs up, like, they were in the car. Father was in the driver's seat, and he asked, father, can I take my legs up, I want to fold my legs. Father said, no, you cannot, because, like, the seats will get dirty. And he said, aramat basta hai. So that is something, like, father was shocked to hear, like, I can sit comfortably, because they were not expecting him to express that. So that is something, like, he has, like, started expressing. Or like, असं करायचं, नाही करायचं. Then he will give the explanation why नाही करायचं. For example, like, electricity buttons, should I touch it? Then he will say, no, I will not touch it, because I'll get shocked. So at times it gets repetitive. Once he learns something, it still is on the repetitive mode. But then, like, that much of expression has come up by, like, by now. So like, he uses sentences, like, previously heard from, like, family members or teachers or therapists in various situations, and he tries to use them situation wise. So also he's able to express, like, but, like, his emotions and feelings, but at times, like, that is inconsistent. He's sleepy, or, like, he's tired, that he can, like, say. Or he can say, like, if I get angry sometimes, like, if I get cold, then he is like, are you angry? Ragavli is kati. I said, he asked that. So that is something he has, like, learned by now. Next. He again, like, got shifted to another school in April 24. He was earlier in IG board, but then, like, eventually parents realized that he was not able to cope up there, because the curriculum was too high for him, and then they shifted him to IGCSC board. Sorry, ICSC board, and then, like, they kept a shadow teacher for him. So he is able to manage himself with a shadow teacher in the classroom. They repeated his 1 year in the new school because that was a demand from the school, so they had to oblige to that. So that is something they did, and he's doing quite well over there. His self-talk, laughing spells, and repetitive sentence inattention has reduced. I will like they all have reduced, but I would not say that it's completely gone. When there are times when he's stressed, that again comes out, or he's spaced out, or he's tired at the end of the day, because he usually comes in the evening to me, and then this spacing out also at times seen, but he has come up a long way in verbal interaction with peers and adults. So that is how set speech has helped getting him to the through this journey. And obviously these are the two cases that I mentioned here, but apart from this I work for a school setup, and there we have kids with autism, hyperactivity, or articulation, language difficulties. So with them also, I have been using it, and that has helped in individual sessions as well as in group sessions. So it was something I I could vouch on for.
No, you did a lot of hard work on both the presentations, I must say, getting the history correct, the information correct, the activity by activity, getting the pictures correct. You put in a lot of effort. It was
Thank you.
very nice, and also it was very good that you showcased two very different type of children. The kind of issues they had, from the type of issues they had to the kind of you saw the one developing stammering at the end. So this child definitely did not have a very divergent neurodiversity kind of a thing. Whereas the other kid you
Hmm.
discussed outright was on the spectrum, is on the spectrum. I'm sorry,
Hmm,
because
hmm, hmm.
the inattention, the zoning, the repetition, they are very obvious indications.
Yes.
And another cue would be the earlier child, the first case that you discussed, took a lot of interest in riddles and what is wrong. That is something which a
Yes.
child on the spectrum is going to find it very difficult. They just don't understand the concept because it's a second person perspective. But
Hmm, hmm.
when you were doing that, even I have been using it with children with misarticulations, phonological processes, and stuttering, and they enjoy that the most. That is the place where they don't take it as
Yes.
therapy, and the ability to ask you that now it is your turn. I am going to ask questions, you are going to do that. So
Yes.
that set apart that first kid, that it could be frustration, it could be hyperactivity resulting from a lot of speech as well as language deficit issues, but definitely
Ye-
not being on the spectrum. Whereas the second kid, is the type of child we have so much difficulty in introducing a screen because of the inattention, zoning out, lack of inhibition, touching everything. So it is
Actually, in both the cases, I had to maintain that control, this tab when I am giving it to
correct,
you, and that limited usage, because initially, the first kid also, he got obsessed with certain activities, and he used to actually be you will give the tab to me, and I will handle
ah,
it by myself.
correct.
So that is completely taking over the tab, and
Session.
I
Yes,
was losing the
yes,
control over the activity. I know at times we have to give a little control in their hand, but not the complete control of the activity in their hand. And there was a time when I had to actually tell him that we will do another activities apart from the tab. We
correct,
will not go towards the tab if you are going to behave this way, because he I had to explain him the concept that this is my tab, I am the conductor of the session, and
yes,
please let me have the control of it. I will give you whenever it is required. So that was
correct.
the boundaries I established for him.
But the case that you discussed, that child, he essentially had the frustration because of these control issues, because of lack of intelligibility, people not understanding, he losing control. That was the main issue for that kid, basically. And yet
Yes.
you managed, that was like really seamless.
To be honest, I had real tough time with him. Like,
Yes,
you know, that
it
was
is.
something, because when he used to flare out with his anger, like, you know,
Yes,
that was something like, you know, we had to calm him down a lot. Okay, ठीक है, ऐसे करेंगे, that cajoling and like
correct.
coaxing him, and then like that was something had to be done very delicately, I would say. And then mother also had helped us a lot. Like, you know, even my occupational therapist who works with me, she also, like, she's obviously senior to me, and she had helped me a lot in, like, you know, giving tips how to handle
Correct.
him. You know, so that obviously makes a difference. That
It is
help
a
is,
huge
like, you
difference.
know, definitely needed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's quite daunting a task to be doing this and managing the child managing your own mental health. So obviously it is challenging. The first case, what you described.
Yes.
Tasneem, would you want to add something?
Yes, no, the way she's used the app in with both the cases is really commendable. Like how means see when we've set activities in an app, okay, we have means we've set it with some perspective, some thought, but she has, you know, used her own creativity to get out more information, more language from the child, and that is really commendable. So that even
Absolutely.
tells us that how you know the app can be used, one particular activity can be used in so many different ways to, you know, to stimulate the child to come up with such different responses.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that has been very well highlighted in both your cases. Like, you know, from a set of stimuli, how differently you have, means that, that set was like a starting point, but from that you have thought and put in so much of your, so many of your skills to get out more from the child. That is really, really commendable.
Absolutely. And even deciding
Thank you
that
so
which
much.
one is going to be a reward. So this is not going to be an activity. This is going to be this is going to be a reward. So that is absolutely fantastic. And that was
Actually,
also, I
yeah,
guess, driven by the kid. Yes.
that is something, like, you know, I think we have to go according to the child's, like, you know, interest
Absolutely.
also. Like, you know, something we really understand over the period of time. Like, you know, this can definitely work with the child, and that's, like, you know,
Yes.
that's a calculation we usually do with the child, and most of the time that comes correct at the end.
Yeah.
Uh, Go on. You want to tell something? I want to share something else. Please do. Go on.
No, no, you go ahead. I was like, anyone in the participants have anything to ask Prajakta regarding anything? So I was, or we
There's
go ahead.
nothing in the chat box yet. I
Okay.
guess the groups that has been circulated, even you guys have been tagged also. So I guess people can ask you, come to you directly. I just want to share a few pictures where for me also introducing set speech was a little daunting because the child would touch everything, and this child has a lot of motor difficulties. So I just want to show you the combination of work. So he is a 14-year-old child with cerebral palsy. He's a completely mobile kid. And apart from dysarthria, he has overlapping apraxia also. So this is a reward task because he loves cricket. He knows the names and everything, but he has a real task pronouncing them. I just want to show you the setup of using this because you know how she explained. I just want to show you that, see, this is where we were doing a listening task. Okay. So we were picking up, something very difficult, like which child has finished eating chips and cannot touch the books. So I was doing something like this with him because he would otherwise, like you said, child with CP. So, if there is any muscular or joint spasm or pain, then he is going to be zoning out and he would be like, since you have the tab, I'm not going to pay attention to you. So this is where I would do a listening task with him, and this is where we would try a expressive task with him. So he's capable of listening to extremely complex sentences and take a judgment call that he can show by pointing or say a ho or na. And in this, he's trying fuga de, fuga motha, fuga futla. These are also very difficult for him. But if I do the listening task and then give him this, he was able to, he was motivated enough because it is screen. As you can see, I'm using a mouse here to keep a control with me. Otherwise, what happens is he completely knocks it over, basically. He does not have the idea of the amount of strength his finger can have. Either he will not touch or he is going to very likely going to knock it over. Again, this I was using complex scenes from my set where he had to tell me if the mother had noted that the TV was going to undergo destruction and why one child is reacting, the other child is not. So this is extremely complicated in terms of second person perspective. After he did this guy is a foodie. He said, I'll say the word butter. If you show me the picture of butter, show butter, I will say butter. So he did the entire process of put tomato tap. He cannot say the ter, kanda tap, and let's finish making the sandwich. We did it till there. And the last picture, we were doing a snag and snatch kind of exercise for jaw mobility. So he has dysarthria and a very huge overlapping component of apraxia as well, where even with good movement, there is a lot of groping. So getting him to initiate exercises is so difficult because in a mirror, he can see himself. When he saw these images, he was so thrilled to do the exercises. So thrilled to do these exercises. So I just wanted to show how the screen can be sort of introduced, you know. So along with your cases, I really
Definitely
wanted to
agree
show
with you.
because this is a skill. It is not the tab. It is what you do and how you do. So
Exactly. Yeah. I think that therapist control that
yeah,
matters a lot, and how you like tweak the child basically. How you get them into doing the activities. I think eventually we all learn, and
yes,
we experiment a lot for that.
yes. It is a open-ended negotiation because you know it is either the control or the device, or you will not get the results. But the material is so good that you're able to motivate something else basically.
Yes. Definitely. See, it is we always need the foundation for it. If you want to build something, you need to have that foundation for it. And that is what I would say, SetSpeech provided me with that. And I could build on it.
Absolutely.
That's definitely I mean, I'm really grateful that she started with this initiation. She came up with this so much of that comes up with a lot of research, that
Yes,
comes up with a lot of organization, and jotting down and everything. So what she has done is a commendable job, and
it is
I
huge.
always look
It
forward
is
towards new.
huge. It is a giant of a task because if you see the kind of categorization of the task you have put in, Tasneem, it is like, okay, that was there in her head. It was all there in her head, and it is because of an app we are able to see it. It is that. It is that.
Yeah, exactly. Head to screen. It is your
Absolutely.
imagination to screen. It's that way.
I would also want to mention for the audience here, you can make customized AAC boards also on SetSpeech
Yes.
because she has provided a huge number of pictures. You can select your pictures, you can put it on the grade, you can print them out. I don't know if you have the time and patience. Do you want to show one such, Tasneem? Just
I don't mind showing, means you wanted, I can show one AAC and one scroll if you,
yes, please do, please do.
yeah, I'll share my screen. Okay, so here the picture bank and templates is the place where you can create AACs, and scrolls is a section where you can create picture, means you can group the pictures that you want to teach teacher, the child or the adult, and you can, rather than using the preset sets which are already in the speech and language task. So when we come to picture bank and templates, we have these various grids. This is okay, so this is a grid with two pictures. You can add a text or a picture to this grid.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so this is all the pictures. So you can. Yeah, so I wrote boy. So these are all the images of a boy that I have here. So here he is. Okay, eating. And if I want to write text, you can print it out, you can save it on your PC, and you can make such combinations with all, means there are 3,000 plus images. This is just one example. So this is a grid of 2 images that I've used here. So this is AAC. You can okay, so you can go up to like 24 squares. So it's a bigger grid, but the pictures become smaller. You can add text, numbers, and the pictures. Pictures you can select only from the pictures given in the picture bank of SetSpeech. You cannot add your own images, but we've tried to incorporate a lot of, means in the 3,000 images, we have a lot of Indianized pictures so that you can, the ones you can use with your just showing you, you know, what kind of. Yes, so that is with the picture bank and templates. Now coming to scrolls. Now, if you've seen sets in the other sections of SetSpeech, they all are very predefined, predetermined. They start from one picture, they end at one picture. You really can't change that sequence, you can't modify. But suppose now you want to make something specific to a child, like you want to, if you're teaching fruits and you just want to teach 3 fruits, you don't want to teach all of them. So you can make a scroll, okay, and you can add your you know, those just those pictures in your scroll. I can even write the caption. Okay, now this scroll I've made with just these 3 images, and I submit the scroll. Okay, so something. I'm sorry, it's not showing here.
It's okay. We got a fair idea what you are trying to show, that, you know, if you have you have a set number of set way of things, you can make a, thing by yourself completely. That is,
That's
yeah,
the idea behind scroll. Yeah, so you can make like a, so how you have the other, all my scrolls have got deleted. I don't know how, but yes, you can make, you know, your own set of images. You can put in that, you
Hmm.
know, that swiping that we have for every set in that.
Hmm.
So like how we have it for other, like here,
Correct.
it's predetermined. From mango, it will go up to kiwi, right?
Correct.
And there, like, so it will appear, those images will appear like this. Those 3
Hmm.
images will appear on a scroll like this.
Correct.
The idea of scroll.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. No, I just wanted the audience to get a fair idea that, you know, this kind of modification and permutation combinations are possible. That's all. That's what I wanted. So if you guys have any more questions, you know her. I have put the website also in the chat box. You can go, you can check it out, and you can see. Could you tell us a little bit more about the subscription? Then I think we can end it. Like the procedure, it's not down. You know, you don't have to download it. Can you just mention that, Tasneem, then?
Yes. So SetSpeech is a web-based app. It works on any device. It runs on the internet, so you need a device and you need a good internet connection for it. It works very well on your PC, your laptop, your tablet, your phone. Okay, so all you have to do is you go to, it's not a Google app or an Apple app. So you have to actually go to the website. That's www.setspeech.com. And you go to the website, and there is where you go log in, fill in your details, sign up, pay up for the subscription, and avail the app. We have two subscription plans. One is for a yearly plan for 3,000 rupees and a plan for 6 months, which is 2,500 rupees. We have two modules, a therapist module and a patient module. So if the therapist is subscribing, you subscribe to the therapist module so that you get all the features of the app,
Correct.
including the data management, means the managing of patient data. That entire section is there in the therapist module. Patient module does not have that section. And the patient module, if a patient subscribes to the app, they can connect their subscription ID with their therapist, so the therapist can give them very individualized sessions week on week, month on month, so that the patient can practice regularly at home. So that is the function and the purpose of the patient module.
This is such an incredibly proud feeling that an SLP has done this, because for any other AAC app, it is such a big jhanjat to tell the people, this is how you do it and that is how you do it, and please don't do this and please don't do that. And you can, you can modify it and you can customize it so well because you have given the ability in the app to do this.
True. So the entire idea was the patient should not get lost with all the therapy material on hand.
Absolutely.
The patient needs to, the child or the parent needs to be guided that only from this. And so that's why our session planner is also very well demarcated and defined, so that you choose that particular set, that particular activity, and only that is seen on the child's dashboard when the child logs in. The child is not lost.
Not just lost, they will keep going to a particular thing. The favorite thing is to shut down everything and go to YouTube. So it is like that. So, they try to push you towards one particular thing. So it is definitely like, this is beyond awesome. So thank you so much. I don't see any more comments in the chat box. I think the cases were explanatory enough as to how to use those and how to use them in different ways. I hope we can get to speakers where they talk about adult cases as well, adult NCD cases as well, because then the perspective changes completely, but the activities somehow remain similar, obviously, in nature. So thank you so much. It was really wonderful that we could we could collaborate and put it up together for the audience to understand its uses better. It is a very big weapon you have in your armamentarium when it comes to working with children, and it is completely a skill of as a therapist. It is your skill how you are introducing it, when in the session it is introduced, for what it is introduced, through which combination it is introduced. And Prajakta has covered that really well. Like her presentation was really well made, well worked up.
Very true, very true.
Thank you so much. Thank you to both of you, because you both gave me the opportunity. Tasneem approached me for this, and I was let's do this, because this was something I have done it for so many times, and for the period of 3-4 years. So that was something motivated me, and I could do it. So thank you so much for availing this platform for me.
See, we are moving ahead with technology. We are really moving ahead. So we have to integrate that. We have to use it. We have to get, our seniors also to use it, because it is easy. You're carrying one thing, especially if you're going for a home visit, and in the clinic, among many things. When I was talking to Sanika ma'am, she actually told me that, when kids who are not accepting screens, I just give one last thing as a reward, and then that's how I increase it, because then I can do at least one more thing. It was so good to hear it, because she's a super senior, and I was so happy that she uses it as well. So it is how we go ahead. It is how we move ahead. We work with technology. That is how we go ahead. So
Technology is an inevitable part of our lives. So, whatever we've to incorporate it in the right manner is what is the need of the hour. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is why,
Definitely.
I showed the combination. I was aware the cases that Prajakta would be presenting. So that is why, because I'm using it with a motorically challenged child. And, there is a lot of disinhibition in, pushing this thing. I showed you that combination that, see, in terms of listening, understanding that, where was the mother looking? Was she aware this happened? So it's not an ASD kid. So you understand second person perspective, that how I used that first with him, because that is his understanding level, and I had to fall down drastically for the speech level because apraxia and dysarthria component coexisting. So, I have found such great motivation in that child, because even with a mirror, he's apraxic. It is so difficult for him to copy those exercises and work with range of motion and strength exercise. And when he saw your set of exercises, the first thing is he told me, despite his effort, Kaka karto. He was so like, I don't, you show me a mirror and you're telling me Kaka karto. I'm like, yeah, can you do? Because Kaka is the So we have some terrific comments coming in. Naima says, thank you so much. It was really insightful. Rupali says, superb Prajakta. Naima also says, Tasneem ma'am, thanks for developing this. You're saving a therapist's time, because coming from college and planning session is hectic, but we get all ready made. It's absolutely spot on. Sandhya says it is like everything under one roof. Thank you for sharing. I will be subscribing soon. Apurva says amazing content and great efforts by the both of you. Sandhya again says thank you to all the three of us. Welcome, Sandhya. Priya ma'am says thank you. Thanks to all the three for this wonderful insight. Great effort. Naima also thanks Prajakta for the wonderful presentation. We would really love to know what all techniques you use in therapy, how you handle the session. Looking forward to more such sessions, because what she covered were really, the first one was really difficult to begin with, and that is really adds on years to your experience when you hear another colleague speak about it. So thank you. It has been a great evening, and this is a very small token of love and appreciation from Insightful for you, Prajakta, and as well
Thank
for
you.
you, Tasneem, for making this so lively, so interactive. So one second. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. We wind up here. You have a good evening ahead. Take care. We'll meet next time with more complicated cases, inviting more discussion.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Pleasure to
Thank
be
you
here.
for
Bye.
participating today on a Saturday evening. Good night. See you next time. Good night.
Bye bye.